everyone, welcome back. In today's video, I'm going to give you guys a 1-month update to my Vandaceous orchids that I got from Gold Country Orchids. I got them over the holiday, and today what I want to do is show you how they're doing in their semi-hydroponic setup. Vandas are tricky without a wet-dry cycle, so I'm watching these really closely. So let's take a look at this Vanda rainbow stars. This is also known as the Darwinara rainbow stars. So I have this with some pebbles on top. I spray it down in the morning, those top roots. Initially what I'm noticing is that it is throwing out some new roots on the very top of the pebbles, as you could see down below. So that's a really good sign. This orchid is super thirsty, so I'll say that I honestly have to fill the water reservoir twice a week because it drinks the water that quickly. Now, taking a look at the root system, this is actually throwing out some new roots. I can tell because it is very close to the plastic and it wasn't there when I first repotted it. Now, it's throwing out new roots and the old root system did not die. So that's something that I look at closely with the Vandaceous orchids, and I keep the water reservoir full as well. So far this one is doing very well 1 month in. I'm not seeing any die off, so I am very thrilled with how this is going. I'm also very surprised that there's some roots at the very bottom of this pot. So these roots are branching. They do not mind the moist the always moist system. It doesn't seem like they care so much about a wet dry cycle. Now the one thing that I have noticed that I'm a little bit, I regret a little bit, is that it has a new growth and I potted it a little bit too far down. You could see it right there. If I were to do this again, I would pot it up a little bit higher, but otherwise it's growing a new leaf. This rainbow stars is doing really well and I'm very happy with it. Up next is the Renintanda Sunrise Prism. This orchid is also doing well. It's in the same setup as the rainbow stars. It's in Leca and lava rock topped with pebbles. It's got a little dry root there, so we'll see how the root system looks inside of the pot. It's also growing a new leaf, which is great. That wasn't there when I first repotted this orchid. And as we take this orchid out of the container, you can see that it's quite moist. I do have it on a heat mat along with the rainbow stars. And as we're looking for the roots, they are growing through the pot. So as you can see, there's one that's growing through the wick, which is new. And then you can see the old root system, sort of. This is a frosted pot, so it's a little hard to see. But there are, most of the roots that came with this orchid are also still viable and still doing well. Now this one looks like it's dead since it's a darker color. But we do have some live roots along the wick, which is a good sign, meaning that it's doing well despite being in the always moist setup. Now when we take off the pebbles to take a look at the roots, I'm not seeing too much going on here, not like the rainbow stars, but let's take a look at the other side. So things are looking okay. So as I'm seeing the root system, it's doing just fine in this always moist system. I don't think I'm suffocating the roots. The roots are not dying off. I'm going to keep it just as is, just knowing I need to watch these closely. Now the next orchid up is the Vanda Greenlight. So this orchid is in the same exact setup. The leaves it's growing a new leaf, which is great. And then when I repotted this orchid, it actually lost a couple of leaves. So it lost a leaf in transit and it lost a leaf as I was repotting it, as you can see here. But it's growing some top leaves, which is great. Now, when I remove the pebbles to take a look at the tops of the roots, I'm noticing that it has some new root tips going down into the medium, which is fantastic. This is something that I never got with my Ascophoenicia cherry blossom, so it's a great sign that this orchid is actually okay in a semi-hydroponic setup. Now, what stands out to me is that root at the bottom. So this orchid is growing through and hitting the water reservoir. So I don't think it has a problem at all in an always moist system, which is my biggest concern when I'm looking at Vandaceous orchids. I'm also seeing some roots also grow right next to the wick, which means it's completely okay without being being very moist. So I am very pleased with this. It's growing new roots. It's tolerating the system very well. I don't think I'm going to have issues with these orchids in a semi-hydroponic setup. Overall, I'm pleased at how these orchids are doing. They all live under a heat mat. They are pretty thirsty, so I'm giving them a decent amount of water. They also get a moderate amount of light. They're about 10 inches away from the grow lights. Overall, I have no doubt that these orchids are going to transition very well for me. If you guys have Vandaceous orchids in semi-hydro, let me know what worked and what didn't. And my Ascophoenicia does not like it, so I wanted to double check on these and see how they were doing. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys soon. Bye.